This video has been made possible by Paradox Interactive. Join thousands of your fellow Stellaris players on the official Stellaris Discord by using the link in the description below. It's an exciting time for Console Edition. Not only is the 2.6 patch landing, which is quite substantial with all the new additions such as Origins, Federations, and the Galactic Community, and a slew of additional features that are being added for quality of life. No, in addition to all of this, there's also the Lithoids Species Pack. Now, Species Packs in the past may have been a bit of a interesting addition, to use the term, because let's be honest here, compared to Lithoids, all Species Packs in the past are not nearly as full of content. Let's put it this way. Lithoids is adding so many additional features and gameplay styles that it blows every single species pack out of the water. Sure, you have your character portraits. Sure, you have your advisor voices and your ship sets, etc., etc. However, Lithoids also adds gameplay. Yes, that's right. Gameplay is being added through the species packs with unique mechanics attached to the Lithoid portraits. Let's dive right in. Let's create ourselves an empire to see what is on the table here for the joys that is Lithoids. We're in our character creator right now, and as you can see under our appearance menu, we have to scroll all the way down to the bottom in order to find Lithoids. You can also go and click on the humanoids and then click up, or whatever is at the top of your screen, and Lithoids will appear at the bottom. Now, Lithoids themselves are really cool. They've got a lot of different portraits. I'm particularly keen for this one right here. Look at that. It's like looking at a crystallized form of something. But yeah, they're lithoids, silicoids, whatever you want to call them. They are all very, very interesting. They all have their own little design. They're all very, very cool. I'm also partial to this one. Of course, the Rock Riders representing. But this is not necessarily what it is all about. The Lithoids themselves also have something very, very special. We're just going to go ahead and select this one. Let's quickly dive over towards our traits. Because yes, there are Lithoid traits coming with the Species Pack. And what does that mean? Well, being a Lithoid involves that you eat minerals instead of food. This means that you could play potentially a xenophobic empire and never have any migration issues ever again, because all of your pops would eat minerals, and any other pop that comes into your empire obviously needs food, and this is a problem. Therefore, keeping your empire full of Lithoids is a good idea, especially if they have some of the other traits, but we'll get to that shortly. In addition, though, these pops, they grow very, very slowly. I've got a minus 25 pop growth rate, which means that it is a good idea to do genetic engineering on them, going down the biological ascension path. Of course, if you have the Utopia expansion, is highly encouraged, because then you can get cloning vats, which of course completely offset the pop growth speed modifier, and once you have that, you can actually start trucking and get a reasonable amount of population very, very quickly. This pop growth speed, however, is offset by a massive habitability bonus of plus 50% on all worlds, which is insane. It basically means that you can, in fact, colonize every single world out there without much of a hassle. You can, of course, add even a higher habitability bonus on top of that, or research that through technology and basically be able to spread throughout the universe without any roadblocks. In addition, army health plus 50% is useful for planetary operations, and your leaders also live 50 years longer. That means that Lithoids in general, whilst their pop growth speed is not all that great, they can live anywhere. Their leaders live very, very long, so it's in your best interest to make sure that they can get to the highest possible tier of leadership level. Yes, that is in fact a thing. Because then you can leverage leader skills in order to get the maximum out of your economy. Having Lithoids in general is very, very good, because they are just one of the more flexible types of empires out there, especially considering you no longer have to focus on food. In that regard, is very similar to, say, robotic empires or hive minds that just don't need consumer goods. In this case, however, you just don't need food, and that is a really big deal. However, this is not everything when it comes to the trait department, because we get Lithoid off the get-go. We also get access to 3 very, very, very special species traits, which is scintillating skin, gaseous byproducts, and volatile excretions. Now, what this means is that of these 3, every single one of them allows a single pop to generate 0.01 either volatile motes, gases, or crystals. That means that you have a population on your planet that generates strategic resources off the get-go. If you want to go into the science department, then you want to go for gaseous byproducts, because you can get exotic gases, which allows you to upgrade your gases department, or AC technology department, because as I mentioned, they require gas. For volatile motes, in this particular case, you can get insane amounts of alloys. If you need consumer goods, rare crystals is the way to go. Personally, I like to go for the gaseous byproducts to get a very high tech rate very early on, and then use that to offset the cost of alloys by building an Ecumenopolis using Megacorp, and basically get an insane amount of alloys if you drew through the alloy district. So let's talk about civics here when it comes to Lithoids. Of course, the one and only that you would immediately think of is mining guilds, because obviously we are eating minerals, therefore mining guilds is a automatic pick right here. In addition to that, there's a whole bunch of other things that we can do here. I'm particularly keen on Byzantine bureaucracy because of the additional bonuses we can get from bureaucrats, as they will generate unity and stability as well. And that is all of our picks right off the get-go. In terms of ethics, I'm highly motivated by authoritarian due to the worker pop resource output. Those are basic worker resources, which is plus 5%, which is a pretty decent deal. But egalitarian, of course, for those alloys is another bonus as well. Plus, we can get an insane amount of influence that way due to the faction influence modifier. Still, though, there is so many things that we can do here. There are so many things that are possible. Feel free to do whatever you want. In the end, if you want to have spiritual rocks, go ahead and have fun with it, because it is a canvas that you can write your own game on. Let's dive into the start of a game. Let's see what it looks like and how the game feels, and then later on we can dive into a more advanced empire that has been running for 100 or so years and see what a Lithoid empire at that stage looks like. Starting off as a Lithoid empire is relatively straightforward, except there are a lot of small differences that do really impact things rather significantly. First thing that we're going to do is of course, we're going to go to our outliner and make sure our outliner settings are set up properly. Let's quickly hide the outliner here, because we don't need that at the moment. Still, as you can see, our system seems to be very straightforward. We have some minerals in space, and we have some energy as well, and we've got a reasonable amount of stuff to explore. Which means that immediately we can go to our civilian ships, send out our ships right away, and get some surveying done, because obviously we need to get as much surveying done as possible at the start of the game. Still though, the planet itself, our capital world, as we talked about earlier, has a bunch of very strange features on its surface, and one of them is buried lithoids. Now, every single one of these buried lithoids is a pop. Now, they cost 1,000 minerals, therefore going down the domination route early is a good idea, or getting a leader who has the ability to reduce the blocker costs, which we can find under the summary tab. Right now they're just resilient, but still having to pay 1,000 minerals for a pop may seem like a tall order, but remember, we start off with an insane amount of mining districts on our capital world. Also, we got this gorgeous city image on the top here as well. But yeah, we have all the mining districts that we could ever want, which is, of course, very important. Then there's such a thing as technology. What can we get off the get-go? Anything science related is good. Anything mineral related is good as well. So we're going to go full science right off the get-go in order to get our science flowing, because the earlier we can get science bonuses, the larger knock-on effects we have in the long run. If we go to our shipyards here, we can go and find our brand new lithoid meteorite. It does cost ourselves 500 minerals, which is not an insignificant amount of minerals, but it is still cheaper objectively than the colony ships, which cost 200 alloys and 200 consumer goods to boot, which is, I believe, somewhere around 600 to 800 minerals in total cost. I will need to take a look at the math itself. But from here on out, it's time to discover the universe at large, and we've already found ourselves a nice little world over here. We're going to go ahead and send our construction ship over towards this system, and then we're going to slam a rock into this here continental world, because it is just hanging out here. It's got a bunch of city districts. This is a potential world that we can use for an ecumenopolis down the line, and of course we can set up our districts as well. But yeah, our construction ship is now here because we don't want to waste our minerals building up our resources in our own solar system. So yeah, we're going to build this starbase. It has a reasonable cost of 75 influence and 90 alloys. We just need to wait for this system to be fully surveyed. And with our first tradition being available, we can go to domination and actually just get the adoption effect, which will reduce our blocker costs by 33%, which is a huge deal because it allows us to effectively get our pops out of the ground. Right now, the pops only cost 667 minerals instead of the 1,000 that we paid before. And that's a pretty big deal because it means that we can do good stuff with it. Still though, this planet is now available for colonization. We're just going to the colonize menu and get a lithoid meteorite and get our rock underway. If we go to our shipyard here, we'll see that in about 100 days our meteorite will be ready to go. And we'll take a look at it to see what it looks like as it goes towards our planet. There's a lot of cool stuff to have here, and of course, as I mentioned, just like our capital world, our colony worlds that have lithoid meteorites attached to them or have been colonized by a lithoid meteorite will get the cool bonuses from additional pops, which is a pretty big deal. And he is just about to come off of the factory line, and there it is. So let's take a quick look at it. There is the lithoid meteorite on its way towards the solar system. It has a little bit of it can be a little bit glitchy sometimes due to the speed that I'm running the game at, so don't you worry too much about that. Anomaly found. Let's take a look. He's gonna go ahead and slam into the planet very shortly. There it is. The rock is about to arrive. And the rock has slammed into the world. And immediately we can see underneath our planetary features that there are buried lithoids here, which basically means that we have additional pops. If we can combine this with, say, the expansion tradition and get a new life, then we can get additional pop growth speed, but in addition to that, we can get colonization fever, and we can get effectively 4 new pops at the start of the planetary expansion, which is a lot more than our basic 4, and this is all, or at least our basic 2 that we would normally get, and this is all to offset the slow growth speed of lithoids, but it does make it very, very, very powerful. In addition, what we could potentially do here is take a look at our leader of this area. Do we have an environmental engineer? Yes, we do. So we select an environmental engineer, and now the lithoids only cost 417 minerals per slot, because basically we just have as many pops as we want. We don't want to unbury them just yet because we don't have districts for them to work in, but that's fine. Our first building is going to be a science lab anyway, so we'll just get that underway. Science lab is queued. We'll get a planetary feature, unbury a lithoid, and they'll be joining our empire very, very soon. And that is the initial setup here for a lithoid empire. Those pops that are in the ground in combination with the origin makes it a very, very powerful start, and the ability to generate as many minerals as you want is, of course, a massive, massive deal. Let's jump into the future to another empire that I've been playing around with already and see what a proper lithoid empire looks like. So here we are, 100 years into the future of my other save file. As you can see, we've expanded quite nicely, of course, as our Lithoid Empire. And of course, we're also running around with the Lithoid chipset and all the joys that comes with that. The Lithoid chipset is actually really, really pretty. It's probably one of the better looking chipsets within the game. And let's take a closer look at some of our ships here. For instance, there is our standard construction ship. And of course, we can go into the ship designer as well and just take a look at all of the other designs that we have, like our classic Corvette. And I do love the fact that these are asymmetrical rocks in space. Same thing with the destroyer, the cruiser. They've got custom turrets and everything. The battleship is absolutely hot, and with the tachyon lances and all that stuff, it really does pull the room together, so to speak, because it just looks absolutely gorgeous. Still though, we've been ramming rocks into planets for pretty much the entire game, to potentially detrimental effect, because of course we have the negative modifier of the asteroid here, which means habitability does go down, but of course due to our ability to just live wherever we want, this is not a problem. It is a problem for, of course, for migration treaties and stuff like that. Other pops don't necessarily want to live on your planets that are covered in post-apocalyptic dust from other worlds, but yeah. As you can see, we also have a massive amount of mineral income, not necessarily the biggest for a empire at this stage, but still having plus 300 minerals at this part of the game is incredibly useful, because mining guilds does everything for us. In addition to that, we are using, of course, those cloning vats that we were talking about earlier. Cloning vats completely offsets the growth malice that Lithoids gets to begin with, and in order to unlock that, you will need to make sure that you are going for the right ascension perks. Of course, that is if you have Utopia, that is engineered evolution, and of course the evolutionary mastery. And once you've done all of that, you can basically play Lego with your empire's genetics and get even more bonuses out of your species to wherever you want to go. If we take a quick look here at our species in general, as you can see, we have a bunch of other empires rolling around. This is our main species. Of course, they are lithoids. They got limited regeneration. They're traditional, etc., etc. But of course, we can just modify them with whatever we want, because we have the joys of biological engineering. I don't think we can actually change the gaseous byproducts or scintillating skin. We can only have one of those traits at one time. So that is something you want to keep in the back of your head. But yeah, Lithoids, it is out. It is amazing, and it is probably one of my favorite species packs, and today has been a generalized overview on how to play with these guys, how they work, and what is potentially a good idea. Of course, you don't have to follow anything to the letter. This is all just a suggestion on how to play as them. You can do you and do whatever you want. It is an open universe, and you can play in any way you like. I want to thank Paradox Interactive for making this video possible. Feel free to go and check out the Discord channel that is linked in the links below. It is a server, actually. My apologies. Feel free to go and check out the Discord server. It is the official Stellaris Discord server, and there's many people there that are ready to receive you with open arms and talk about Stellaris, as well as maybe some other subjects right there and then. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you as well to my patrons for making this video possible. We're gonna go and wrap this one up here. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to keep rock solid.